well, you always get the best seat in the house on TV, and this is just one of the exhibits on show. And this particular one is done by none other than Boy George.
It's me, I'm guilty.
Tell us, what was the reasoning behind this?
Well, it's kind of a sort of the art I do myself anyway, and when I was approached about doing something on a toilet seat, I thought, well, one of my kind of punk rock faces will sit perfectly on the throne. And, you know, it's a sort of, my piece is meant to, I mean, decorating a toilet seat is quite cheeky, isn't it? It's got to have massive humour, because people, I always think like toilet seats are boring, you know what I mean? So actually getting to paint one was kind of great, and I was like, what would I put on it? Obviously, I'd used a controversial word. I don't know how, but
we had to sign it, to sanitise it slightly for tea time.
There's a sort of interesting metaphor contradiction about the fact that we can't talk about what happens in the toilet. Things do happen, and normally of a bodily nature. But yeah, the idea was just to kind of celebrate sanitation in a way, because it's something that we take for granted, you know, in our lives. You know, imagine not being able to sit on the toilet and just have a really relaxing contemplate about whatever it may be, you know, what you've just eaten, what someone might have said. You know, there's so much drama that goes on in the toilet.
It can also be a source of inspiration as well sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, any time that you get a minute to yourself is sacred time, isn't it? You know, you're sort of like forced in a way when you're sitting on a toilet to think about certain things, you know.
Did any songs come to you on the toilet?
All the time. Some of my greatest hits are written on the bog. Calm a Chameleon.
I'm glad you mentioned Carl.
I'm only joking. Well, you know, it's. I think creativity is just a constant thing. It doesn't stop when you go into the loo. It doesn't stop when you're eating your dinner or walking. For me, it's just an ongoing. It's kind of life on life terms, isn't it? Really, everything that you do creative, and this is just part of it. I'm impressed by some of the other people's extravaganzas.
Yeah, there's some amazing stuff here. I'm going to introduce Fiona Callister from WaterAid here, because there's such an important message here. What George mentioned, we all take sanitation for granted. How serious is it? It's a matter of life and death, isn't it?
Completely. I mean, we at WaterAid believe that toilets are some of the most precious, beautiful things in the world. But Boy George is absolutely right, we don't talk about it enough. And that means that actually 1 in 5 people in the world still don't have a toilet, which means that they just aren't able to live the healthy, dignified lives that a toilet would bring them. So by working with Rankin and all the artists here, we're able to kind of really celebrate the toilet and hopefully break some of that taboo, which means that they're easier to talk about. We all use the toilet, why don't we talk about it? And then we can help bring toilets to everyone who needs one.
I've written a song called Sitting on the Toilet, but I'm going to do it. I think it's a great, sounds like something John Lennon might have written, you know, sitting on the toilet. A lot happens here, you know, so I might do that for the next exhibition.
Superb, well, thank you very much, both of you. And the exhibition opens tomorrow at the Oxo Gallery.